Hello everyone, I'm Ankit and you're watching StudyIQ IAS English. In our today's video, we'll try to understand why all major political protests in Delhi, they happen at the exact same place, that is at the Jantar Mantar. And the reason why we are covering this video today is because over this weekend, specifically on Saturday, hundreds actually gathered in Delhi's Jantar Mantar and they were answering the calls belonging to the online youth movement that has emerged in recent times called as Cockroach Janta Party. Now, the Cockroach Janta Party, which stems from an online platform, actually demanded protest against the irregularities which are happening in the examinations across the country, and they are demanding that India's Union Education Minister, Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, should tender his resignation. Now, this protest actually marks a very pivotal moment for an online movement because it has transformed itself onto an on-ground activism. But most importantly, in this protest, just take a look at the venue. Now, the venue of Jantar Mantar is actually very symbolic in India's political history because in the past few decades, many protests have happened there. For example, back in 2011, then little known social activist from Maharashtra, Mr. Anna Hazare, actually went on fast protesting against the corruption which stemmed at the second tenure of the United Progressive Alliance back in 2011. So this idea of protest happening in Jantar Mantar is not just unique to this particular instance. It has happened across multiple decades. More recently, protests where wrestlers protested against Brij Bhushan Singh, protest against the Citizenship Amendment Act, death of an Arunachali student Nido Tanya, movement for Nirbhaya, seeking justice for the Nirbhaya rape victim. All of them highlights that Jantar Mantar for some pivotal reason is very important as far as your right to protest is concerned. So we are going to understand why an 18th century astronomical observatory have become a very important place in India's political history because it shows that people can go there and protest. So what are the reasons behind it? We'll try to understand in our today's video, and the notes which I will be using for our today's session, you can also download them by going to a Telegram channel called as ATS Live, and while you're at it, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel as well. So before understanding why major political protests happen in Jantar Mantar, let us first understand what is this Jantar Mantar after all. So this Jantar Mantar is basically a 18th century astronomical observatory which is first of the 5 Jantar Mantars present across the country. It was constructed back in 1724 by Maharaja Savai Jai Singh II. Other 4 locations in addition to Delhi where Jantar Mantars are located includes Jaipur, Ujjain, Varanasi and Mathura. What you have to understand that the Jantar Mantar at Jaipur is regarded as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Similar status is not extended to the Jantar Mantar located in Delhi. So that is a catch. Please remember that. Now the word Jantar Mantar actually originates from the combination of 2 words. Yantar in Sanskrit means instrument and mantra means calculation or formula. So combining both of these 2 terms, yantra and mantra means instrument which are used for astronomical observations. So this is what is the meaning of the word Jantar Mantar. Now let us try to understand the architecture and science behind this place. It was constructed primarily from masonry, stone and plaster, and it represents the fusion of understanding of how astronomy works belonging to Indian, Islamic as well as European tradition. What you have to understand, unlike the modern observatories which are used for astronomical projections which use telescope, this Jantar Mantar is very different. First of all, it compiles astronomical tables, it is able to predict movement of sun, moon and planets, and it is done through naked eye instruments, not through sophisticated instruments like telescope. So it is able to correct the calendar, it is able to make astronomical observations through instruments which are attached to the structure of the Jantar Mantar itself. So this is what is unique about Jantar Mantar. Now let us come to the topic at hand. What is our topic at hand? Why do people actually throng this astronomical observatory to protest against politicians? There must be some very good reason behind it, right? But history does not suggest so. Actually, the most popular protest site in Indian history in New Delhi was initially not the Jantar Mantar. Rather, it was New Delhi's Boat Club. Now, Boat Club, you have to understand, is very near to the vicinity of North Block, South Block, which erstwhile hosted the Secretariat of the government as well as the Parliament of India. So, what happened? A week in October 1988, nearly 5 lakh farmers, who was at that time led by their leader Mahendra Singh Tekath, they actually thronged the lawns of Boat Club in Delhi, and their demand was to see concessions from then government, which was led by Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. So this concession in this protest, which began in 1988, actually caught an eye of the Boat Club, or how it can be used for demonstrations against the then government. So it is how it is etched in the political memory of New Delhi. Now what you have to understand, later on in the early 1990s, then began the Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid movement, and at that time the Congress led government actually thought that you need a protest where it can be controlled, where people can't arrive in larger number, and therefore began searching for a new press in alternative to the Delhi's Boat Club, and their Jantar Mantar became a very good alternative. Now, before understanding why Jantar Mantar is a better alternative for administration as against the Delhi Boat Club, let us look at the locations where these two protest sites are actually located. Behind me, you can see the map of the Lutyens Delhi. Lutyens Delhi is that place of central Delhi where most important structures of Indian government are located. So this is where the Jantar Mantar is, and very near to the structure of Jantar Mantar, you can see this is the Jantar Mantar road where the protest actually happened. Very near to it, in the south, is the parliament. Here in the southwest is the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Here the Seva Tir, that is the office of the Prime Minister of India, and very near to this was the Boat Club lawns where the protest in 1988 actually happened. So in terms of vicinity, this was very close to the power structures in Delhi, so naturally it would create problems for the people sitting in the power. So that is why this location of protest was shifted northwards towards the Jantar Mantar here. But Jantar Mantar regardless is still very near to, just few kilometers away from the Rashtrapati Bhavan, barely 2 kilometers away from the Rashtrapati Bhavan. So in this regard, let us try to first understand why Jantar Mantar is a very ideal place as far as administration is concerned to host protests there as against the Delhi Boat Club. Now, Jantar Mantar for administration is an ideal value. First of all, it is not large enough to hold big crowd. So the large amount of big crowd, even if it comes to protest against the government, they can't find a place in nearby Jantar Mantar. Similarly, Jantar Mantar as the part of its structure has two main entry and exit points. So for government and police, it is very easy to regulate movement of people in and out of such places, right? So the road which connects the Tolstoy Road and Ashoka Road in Delhi is only place unofficially in Delhi where the government does not impose a section 144. What is section 144? It is a provision in the erstwhile Criminal Procedure Code CRPC which prohibited gathering of large amount of people. So right, so this is the only place in Delhi unofficially where the government or the administration does not impose section 144. Therefore large gatherings are not disallowed in the regions of Jantar Mantar. Now, why is Jantar Mantar so ideal for protesters? Let us try to understand that. First of all, many other popular places in Delhi, like which are very near to the central Delhi areas, in close vicinity to the parliament, Rashtrapati Bhavan, etc., these are cordoned off for protest. Usually, whenever there is a large gathering, the administration imposes section 144 here. So, for alternative places, there are not ideal places as far as protests are concerned. So, here the protests are either heavily restricted or prohibited at all. Now, the symbolic importance of the Jantar Mantar. As I told you, Jantar Mantar is very close in vicinity, although a bit further away from the Boat Club, but still very close in vicinity to the places in power. That is the Parliament of India, Rashtrapati Bhavan, Seva Tir, where the Prime Minister's office is there. So it makes a symbolic a powerful measure to protest at Jantar Mantar, because here the protesters would be literally visible to the lawmakers and they would make it a point that we have come to the place of power in order to protest against your very own policies. And you need to understand, right to protest is a very integral part of Article 19, which is the fundamental right given in the Constitution of India, right? So people are able to exercise their right to protest very close to the places of power, which gives it a symbolic meaning, right? Similarly, what you need to understand, other places in Delhi are also available for protests, such as Ramlila Maidan. Ramlila Maidan in terms of space is much larger than the Jantar Mantar area. But why do protesters don't go to Ramlila Maidan? Because in order to protest in Ramlila Maidan, you need prior permission from the government, which is often difficult to get. In addition to that, Jantar Mantar offers open space, road access, and it is a location which is equally or easily photographable. Now, what do protesters need? Protesters need that their protest should be covered widely by the media, and medias also need a place where they can easily access in order to cover those protests. So both of their demands and both of their needs are met at a specific place, which is Jantar Mantar. Similarly, Judiciary has also played an important role in making Jantar Mantar the erstwhile or an informal protest site in India, because Supreme Court in many instances have directed the protesters protesting elsewhere, including Ramlila Maidan, to shift their protest in Jantar Mantar areas, and this judicial recognition has institutionalized the use of Jantar Mantar as far as protests are concerned. Now, not so in far past, that is in October 2017, the National Green Tribunal actually went to Supreme Court and it appealed that please prohibit and ban protests that are happening in Jantar Mantar. So why did National Green Tribunal actually approach Supreme Court to ban protest in Jantar Mantar? It was because some residents of the area, they argued that whenever protests happen in Jantar Mantar, it leads to large noise pollution and it also creates problems in making the area unhygienic. So what the National Green Tribunal did, it asked the authorities to shift protesters to an alternative site in Ramlila Maidan, which is about 4 kilometers away from the Jantar Mantar location. But when these protesters and when the National Green Tribunal actually approached the Supreme Court, it gave 3 grounds based on which it passed this order. It stated that first of all, there is no executive order that demarcated Jantar Mantar or its road specifically as a protest site, and it is marked as a residential area in the Delhi's master plan. And when agitations happen in a residential area, it naturally creates noise pollution, which is a source of inconvenience for the local people. But in July 2018, the Supreme Court of India rules against this total ban in Jantar Mantar and directed the authorities that you don't need to ban, rather regulate these protests by allowing people to move in a regulated manner. So this is what Supreme Court has directed as far as protests in Jantar Mantar is concerned. So in our today's discussion, we first of all understood what Jantar Mantar is. It is basically not a political structure, rather it is a historical site which marks an astronomical site which was made in 18th century. But why is Jantar Mantar actually used for protest? Earlier, the most famous place for protest in Delhi was not Jantar Mantar, it was Boat Club. But Boat Club is very close to the symbols of power, that is the Parliament, Rashtrapati Bhavan. So government decided to ban protest in Boat Club and rather shifted to Jantar Mantar, because Jantar Mantar, because of its geography, allows the government to easily monitor the entry and exit of the crowd. Similarly, it is not as large as the Delhi Boat Club, which makes the protesters or the size of protest comparatively small. Right? Similarly, for protesters, it is the only place where in Delhi the administration does not impose a section 144. So it is not unlawful whenever a large gathering is actually there in the Jantar Mantar area. Similarly, Jantar Mantar again is not very far away from Lutyens Delhi, so it makes this site a symbolically important site because you are protesting very close to the symbols of power. So this is the reasons why Jantar Mantar is actually very famous as far as protests in Delhi are concerned. Okay, now before we move forward and discuss a question that can appear in UPSC exam, there is a very important announcement. The topic that we dealt with belongs to current affairs, but you need to understand this current affairs actually deals with a historically important place, that is Jantar Mantar. So what is art, architecture of Jantar Mantar, what is history of Jantar Mantar, that becomes important from UPSC, right? For similar linkages, it is very essential for you to understand the basics of the syllabus, be it art and culture, history and other important subjects. Similar kind of linkages are also developed in the classes. In P2F foundation batches, the admissions are ongoing right now, which will close, by the way, on 10th of June. I begin classes for economy from today itself. So do not wait, get admissions to these batches as soon as possible, because otherwise if you delay, you're going to miss out on important classes that begin from today evening itself. Okay, before making the payment for the course, if you remember to use this code ATS Live, you're going to get maximum discounts on all the courses. So please remember that. Now, before we wind up with our today's discussion, you can try to attempt this question with reference to Jantar Mantar in Delhi. Consider the following statements. Do let me know the correct answer of this question in the comment section. And what is your opinion on the right to protest? Should the administration demarcate any other place except Jantar Mantar for the protest? Please do let me know in the comment section. So this is all from my side for today's discussion. This is the Telegram channel where you can go and download the notes, as these are important for UPSC exams. We'll see each other again tomorrow. Please have a very good night.